Hello everyone, once again from the capitalist dystopia of the United Kingdom, and today we actually are talking about capitalism, and it's basically how capitalism views the world. So, you guys all know about the Barbie movie, you've probably seen it, and lots of you like it, it's doing really well. Go woke, never go broke, go woke, get pussy, and like what always happens, when you have something successful, what do capitalists like to do? Milk it for everything it's worth. So they completely misunderstand why people like the Barbie movie. They just see, oh, Barbie in a movie is doing well. Therefore, people just want movies based on toys now. Because that is the message the company who make Barbie have got from its success, it seems. Because now there's a whole host of toy movies being made by this company, including, like, a Polly Pocket movie. Like, do most people even know what Polly Pocket is? I kind of remember it from when I was a kid on, like, TV adverts. But, like, it doesn't even have the same, like, brand recognition. And the reason people were so attracted to Barbie is because of all the people who were involved, and it looked kind of interesting. Like, you thought Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling aren't going to be in, like, this terrible movie about Barbie, and you have, like, a good director, a good writer, and then it gets good buzz, good word of mouth, gets good reviews. People go and see it, and it's a good movie, right? But for capitalist studio execs, and we're seeing all this right now with all the strikes, it's never enough. So they're probably putting pressure on to make a Barbie 2, and now we're going to get all these movies. And they're basically trying to make like some sort of Barbie Cinematic Universe in some ways, not strictly speaking. And it reminds me so much, I'm going to talk about that later. I forgot what exactly it was called. I'm going to read an article about it because it's not springing to mind. But remember, Tom Cruise was in that Mummy film, and then there was a picture of like all these famous actors who would be starring in other like dark fantasy stuff. Never took off because the first film never did well. So they never even made other films in this new cinematic universe because they don't think logically. They don't think, oh, you can just like one movie and not milk it to death. And because the MCU has been so successful, we've seen time and again people just want to replicate that success. And I made a whole video back in February, I think, about how even the MCU was running into problems because it was just milking everything dry in the pursuit of profit, because profit really compromises art. And if there is going to be a load of new toy movies by the same company who make actual Barbie dolls, then I feel like it might even go the same way as the MCU, because with the MCU you had an original really great film, the first Iron Man, and apart from maybe 3 or 4 movies, mainly revolving around maybe like the Avengers or Captain America, no movie since has really lived up to that in the MCU. Even with like the DCEU, Man of Steel wasn't even great, but it's like better than all the rest of them. So it feels like these people are so obsessed with making franchises, they don't realize why people might like the original movie in the first place. It always needs sequels, and this is like nothing new, of course. Like even George Lucas has spoke about this himself, about how he just felt so much pressure even with Star Wars to make like a certain thing. So I just want to talk about all of this today and just talk about how like capitalism just ruins everything, even a good thing. Like Barbie is a well-loved movie. It's made lots of money and it can't just exist on its own. It's got to become part of the Barbie Cinematic Universe. So we're going to talk about all of that today. Please like the video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Before we go any further, please follow me on social media at the Kavernacle on Twitter, on Instagram, on Threads, on Blue Sky. Also consider becoming a patron. I'm trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible. Benefits include access to the Discord server, access to my Nintendo Switch friend code, and access to exclusive content I've already posted on the Patreon page. Also, check out my subreddit and check out my second channel. The links to everything down in the description. So I made a video last week about the Barbie movie being, I guess, alleged to promote communism. Because Vietnam actually banned the movie, the Philippines wanted to ban the movie, and Republicans in America said it was Chinese communist propaganda because really stupidly they thought this baby map was actually showing Chinese territorial claims to the South China Sea. And sadly, people didn't come out of Barbie talking about how they want socialism with Chinese characteristics or how much territory China owns in the South China Sea. They just came out of it thinking it was a good movie with a nice message about, I don't know, gender roles and stuff and how they are pretty bad for people, right? But then you come out of the cinema, you go on the news, and you get headlines like this. Polly Pocket movie starring Emily in Paris and Lily Collins is underway. Another doll is coming to the big screen. Now toy company Mattel, who make Barbie, is developing a film around another nostalgic toy from our childhood, Polly Pocket. Speaking to Variety, Mattel films producer Robbie Brenner confirmed there is a script for the film, which she described as great. It will be directed by Lena Dunham, with Emily in Paris star Lily Collins as Polly herself. Quote, "First of all, they are two of my favourite ladies ever," Brenner said of Dunham and Collins before speaking about their collaboration. "It's been an amazing collaboration. Lena is so collaborative and rolls up her sleeves and really likes to roll around in the notes and listen. She's incredible. Lily is so smart and so specific and so productorial. It's just been an incredible collaboration, so we are thrilled about it. Hopefully we'll be making that at some point in the future." The article also talks about Greta Gerwig saying she doesn't really want to make a sequel to Barbie, doesn't really have any ideas for it. But yeah, just the whole concept that, well, we like Barbie made by a very specific person, specific cast, and it's like this cultural moment with Barbenheimer as well. So that's why the film's doing really well. And like I said, they take that as, oh my god, how do we monetize more franchises? What do we have that's like Barbie? Oh, Polly Pocket. Let's make the Polly Pocket movie. No one's asking for this. Yes, there might be some hardcore Barbie fans who went out to see it. Most people who watched that movie don't even care about Barbie. They might have played it with Barbie when they were kids and stuff. They didn't go to see the movie specifically because it was about Barbie. They went to see it, like I said, for multitude of other reasons, and it's getting good reviews. It's not like a brand that could survive bad reviews. If the film had terrible word of mouth and bad reviews, it wouldn't have done well. It could not have just got success from being called Barbie. We see this with a lot of movies, and there's lots of superhero films. Like The Flash just recently came out. Michael Keaton was in it. Ben Affleck was in it. It had loads of characters people liked, and it flopped. People didn't care because The Flash alone can't carry something like that because it needs good word of mouth as well. I'd argue The Flash is a bigger draw for people than something like Barbie, right? So they always take the wrong message. They just see dollar signs straight away. So now what's going to happen is we have Barbie as this good movie, which broke a lot of conventions. I'm going to read a little bit about how it even came to exist in the first place and how they let the director basically do what she wanted. So I just want to talk about Barbie a bit. So even the Mattel boss spoke about this in a Variety interview. So it says, in 2018, after rapidly cycling through a handful of CEOs, Mattel brought in a new boss with a big vision. Yonon Kreis, an Israeli-born businessman and former chairman of Fox Kids Europe, who wanted to turn the toy company into an IP-driven machine, complete with movies, TV shows, stage productions, and theme parks. One of his first initiatives was to launch an in-house film division. Kreis saying, "We could have done something that is maybe easier and take a brand that is less complicated and has a less of a history to manage, or we could have done animation rather than live action, but we actually wanted to create something ambitious and unique, and you go basically straight to the top with our key brand." Within weeks of joining the company, the CEO met with Margot Robbie, believing the A-lister was the ideal partner to bring the doll to life, and she was interested in producing a Barbie movie for her own company, Lucky Chap Entertainment. The storyline for a film about Barbie was not obvious, that is, until Robbie suggested Gerwig as writer-director. Before the idea of Greta came up, we went out to a bunch of writers just to hear different ideas, and we heard a bunch of pitches. Robert Brenner, the Oscar-nominated indie producer of Dallas Buyers Club, who was hired to run Mattel films. Some were interesting and different and outside of the box, and weird and what you would expect, and terrible. There was nothing that ever felt like it was worth making a movie about until this Greta idea. Kreis also saying, the risk was that people outside of Mattel would think that we want to make movies in order to sell more toys, which they obviously do. And I was very clear that this is not about selling toys. This is about creating quality content, creating an experience with societal impact that people would want to watch. We've been selling toys before we made movies, so we're not dependent on that. Variety just assessing, no matter how many times Mattel executives say they're not making films to sell toys, they do have to sell toys. The hope is that with the birth of the movie division, Mattel's products and films will amplify each other, and it's a proven model with both Transformers and the Lego movie. So at least with the Barbie movie as the first kind of proof of concept of a toy movie, it seems that at least a bit of thought went into it, which we can clearly see on screen. And it feels like often the starts of these things are the ones which, because you are trying to like break new ground or break into the industry with this new line of films, or whatever, you maybe try a bit harder. Like Iron Man was very different to like other superhero movies at the time as a start of like these like cinematic universe films. And I don't even know if these films will be linked. It's just all toy films, right? But there was another article by Variety, and it's Mattel execs on the next Hollywood moves, and it talks about all the movies coming out. And I just thought it'd be fun to read through some of them, and some of them sound like weird enough that I'm like okay with it, and then there's others like the Polly Pocket one where I'm like who wants this? Like seriously, it's gonna bomb. I know that. Like I can tell you right now, I'm not an expert in the film industry, but sometimes you hear something that's coming out. Lena Dunham, Lily Collins, Polly Pocket. No one's seeing that unless it is like absolutely catered to children. Then it might be okay. But if you're gonna go for the teenage audience like Barbie, no one's gonna see it. No one's gonna see it because you know it's not even gonna be good just because of who's involved. Now, this article goes on to talk about a lot of this stuff. So it has more from the CEO, the Cries guy, and he said, you know, what you should be saying, but also showing their intent. At the outset, we're not saying, okay, let's think about movie 2 and 3. Let's get the first one right and make that a success. And if you do that, opportunities open up very quickly. Once you establish the first movie as a successful representation of a franchise on the big screen, successful movies lend themselves to more movies. Our ambition is to create film franchises. So, of course, like I was saying, it is all about creating a franchise. They didn't just want to create like a good Barbie movie. It's meant to be a springboard. So Robbie Brenner also said something similar. He said, everybody hopes that when you create a movie, that there's going to be a franchise. Does everyone hope this? Do you guys hope this when you see a good movie? Do you want like Nomadland 2? Do you want The Thin Red Line 2? Do you want Saving Private Ryan 2 or Saving Private Ryan Ryan's Revenge or something? Like, no, people don't want film franchises when they see a good movie. And I bet most people wouldn't want Barbie 2 if the same cast and crew weren't involved either, right? So he goes on to say, that's the hope, that it goes on. And it's a gift that keeps giving. But in this day and age, you just want to get the first one right. Looking at what they've got coming up, now that Mattel did get the first one right, here's a look at what's on its slate and some new tidbits that Variety can exclusively reveal on the projects. So this is the only one that sounds okay, right? I think, in my mind, which kind of like is interesting. So Barney, as in Barney the dinosaur, producer Daniel Kaluuya, the iconic purple dinosaur, will inspire a live-action film that Mattel has previously described as an A24-type surrealistic movie. Now Brenner divulges a few more details, telling Variety, I don't know that it's necessarily going to be darker, it's just going to be unique. More of like a Being John Malkovich or an adaptation, she says, referencing the 1999 and 2002 Spike Jonze films. Now, any movie inspired by the work of Spike Jonze, Her is one of my favourite movies ever. So this sounds interesting. If you're saying a Barney movie is going to be like Being John Malkovich, which just sounds so stupid, like it's just insane. Like I'm up for that really because, you know, at least it's trying something, right? The MCU movies are not inspired by any films. The directors, like the Russo brothers, won't tell you, oh, we were inspired by this movie. Even the DC movies, it's pretty clear to see with a lot of them, they're inspired by, in my opinion, better movies. Like the Joker was inspired by Taxi Driver, The King of Comedy, You Were Never Really Here, which is a really similar movie, also starring Joaquin Phoenix. Obviously, the recent Batman is inspired by David Fincher films like Zodiac and Seven. So yeah, if you are making a franchise film based on something, I'd rather you name drop some better films maybe that you're inspired by. Gives me a bit of confidence, it could be interesting. But now we're going to go through them. So, of course, we have Polly Pocket. Then we have Hot Wheels by JJ Abrams. So, the top-selling toy in the world will be brought to life in a film that features cars, monster trucks, and motorcycles. Abrams has described the adaptation as grounded and gritty. Brenner tells Variety that his words mean the film will have real characters you can relate to. I'm glad it has real characters. That they are three-dimensional and have emotional journeys. Look at any JJ Abrams movie, especially Episode 9, the worst movie of literally all time. All his movies have incredible story and incredible characters. That was something that was important to him, to make a movie that's not just going to be fun and exciting, but that has a real emotion and real stakes to it. This movie is going to be terrible. I'll say that right now. Like I said, JJ Abrams literally made one of the worst movies in recent history. The Rise of Skywalker, absolute dumpster fire. Doesn't have anything good about the characters in that. And Rise of Skywalker was just everything that's wrong with franchise filmmaking. So maybe JJ Abrams is perfect for Hot Wheels, but that made money because it's Star Wars. I don't think Hot Wheels, the movie, is going to make money. And like that Gran Turismo movie, right? I think it looks stupid, but at least it's based on like a real story, even though it looks like cheesy as hell. So I can kind of understand why they made that into a movie, despite I don't think the Gran Turismo brand really lending itself to movies. But Hot Wheels, come on. JJ Abrams Hot Wheels. Who the fuck wants to watch that? So another one, Rock'em Sock'em Robots, starring Vin Diesel. I don't remember the movie. I'll put the picture on screen. Wasn't there a movie just like this starring like Hugh Jackman like over 10 years ago? Like robot boxers controlled by people. Isn't that the Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie? Starring Vin Diesel, who only stars in trash as well. So the Fast and the Furious star will lead a feature based on Mattel's tabletop game of battling robots. Vin is excited. We're working on developing a script. And we're all very excited about it. Like, do kids even play with that toy anymore? That is like a toy from like my parents' childhood. Who's running out to see Rock'em Sock'em Robots starring Vin Diesel? Who wants that? Like, I mean, yeah, fair enough, Vin Diesel, get like a nice paycheck from his toy company. Like, who wants that? There's another one called American Girl, which is about a family comedy based in the world of dolls, content, whatever that means, and experiences that Mattel says helps girls grow with confidence and develop character. We have something great in the works. Don't know what that's going to be. Magic 8 Ball, a film adaptation of the Magic 8 Ball, will probably be a PG-13 thriller. Brennan teases. This sounds like parody. This is like a parody. Am I reading The Onion right now? Magic 8 Ball is a thriller movie coming out. Hot Wheels by JJ Abrams and Rock'em Sock'em Robots starring Vin Diesel. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Cinema is dead. Capitalism has just ruined cinema. Barbie and Oppenheimer, they're the last two good movies we're ever going to get in the cinema. So while I can kind of see there is a He-Man movie, maybe. So Masters of the Universe, a story around the superhero He-Man has been in development at numerous homes over the years. Mattel is still hoping to turn the world of the beloved characters into an action-adventure flick that has the potential to explode into a mega franchise. But Variety exclusively reported Mattel was now shopping for a new buyer after Netflix dropped the project. The property was strapped with millions in development costs from its past lives at other studios. It has most recently attached filmmaking duo the Nee brothers and West Side Story actor Carl Allen to star as He-Man. I mean, I'm not going to say a He-Man movie will necessarily be terrible. I know a lot of people don't really care about He-Man, especially younger people will be watching this, so you'd have to actually, I don't know, get some good casting crew involved. There's something called Major Matt Mason, starring Tom Hanks, written by Akiva Goldsman. So Hanks will star as the Mattel astronaut action figure from the 1960s who lives and works on the moon. Okay, it's Tom Hanks, written, maybe it could be good. Like, if it's like very self-aware, I don't even know, to be honest, right? It sounds stupid, but that one maybe could be good. Uno, the top performing card game in the world, will now become a movie. Who wants the Uno movie? Like, seriously, I'm going to go insane. Like, who thinks it's a good idea? It's like, some of them, yeah, I can understand. He-Man, yeah, fair enough. Uno and Rock'em Sock'em, like, why? Why? Please, no. So, Matchbox, an action movie based on the legendary toy cars that invented in 1953. Like, who even knows what that is? Thomas and Friends, director Mark Foster. The World War Z and Monsters Ball director will helm a fantasy film based on the children's animated train series. I mean, didn't we already have, like, that Alec Baldwin Thomas movie I remember watching as a kid? Like, okay, I guess Thomas has some recognition. Viewmaster, long before VI, there was a picture viewer invented in 1939. Now an adventure film will be based on the classic toy. And Christmas Balloon, not based on the toy, but based on the true story of when Mattel donated toys to help make a young girl's dream come true after she tied her Christmas list to a balloon that was found by a grieving couple who worked with the toy company to fulfill the girl's wishes. Mattel looks to produce a family drama drawing from the story. So with that one, at least, yeah, true story kind of, with the toy company involved, like, go for it, make that movie. Maybe it'll be interesting or whatever. But most of them I read you, why? Why are you even, as concepts, asking? And obviously we know they want to build film franchises based on Viewfinder and Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Imagine getting 3 Rock'em Sock'em Robots movies starring Vin Diesel. Like, who the fuck wants that? Seriously. This is just what makes it so maddening. Like, there's so many problems with capitalism generally. And just watching entertainment, like, just become increasingly, like, degraded by the economic system is just so infuriating. Like, Marvel, seriously, even if you like those movies, it's ruined cinema forever. Like, we have multiverses, which are all crap. Like, The Flash just throwing in stupid shit, like Nicolas Cage cancelled Superman in it for no reason, so people, like, nerds can be like, oh my god, I got that reference, that cancelled movie. Like, it's just such cynical filmmaking, and that's the main point of it. It's just cynical. It's like, we have a bunch of shit toys from like 100 years ago or like 80 years ago. How do we make a movie out of it? And I bet most of these movies will bomb, and they won't be Mattel movies anymore, and maybe they'll try and do a Barbie 2 to, like, rejuvenate it, right? Because most of these are going to be terrible. The Barney one might be funny and weird if it's inspired by being John Malkovich. That is the one thing I'll say. Maybe that Tom Hanks one, maybe He-Man or whatever, right? And that's what I'd focus on if I was them. I'd just put the other ones away. Who wants a movie based on things no one has ever heard of, and you're just making it to, like, promote your toy collection? Again, think it's stupid, and it's like this Barbie Cinematic Franchise Universe just shows what, you know, everything that's wrong with the film industry. They're all thinking about franchising and how they can just make stupid shit into, like, an MCU type, I don't know, film franchise. That is obviously, like, where they get these things all wrong, right? Because if the Barbie movie critically did bad, right, but still made a bit of money, they'd still take that as evidence that these toys brand is so big it can't fail, right? And I think the MCU and the DCEU, they've proved recently that brand is not enough now. Like, we've had these movies, and there's so many to watch, and all these universes are exhausting, that you can make a movie like The Flash, include everyone's favorite characters. Like, Michael Keaton coming back as Batman should be a big moment, but the movie flops. Like, people didn't care because the movie was meant to be bad. Like, the CGI was meant to be bad. The story was meant to be bad generally, and people are tired of just shitty movies like that, right? Always banking on nostalgia, things you recognize, like, very cynical, not trying to make a good movie, trying to make as good a product as possible. And that's what these franchise movies often are. It's like, how do I make a movie that appeals to everyone? Probably by making it mindless, simple, not challenging at all. And that's why having a franchise in mind is always, like, a negative thing. A lot of DC films are bad, especially, like, DCEU films, but the ones that are standalone relatively, Joker and obviously the Batman, they're getting sequels, right? But they stand alone very well. Like, you don't need to watch anything before, you don't need to know the characters, even though obviously everyone does know these characters, and they're getting sequels, and they're being made in a very, like, controlled way, right? So the Joker's getting, like, a musical sequel, which is really interesting to me, even though people might not like it. And then the Batman is just getting, like, a pretty conventional sequel, but everyone pretty much agreed that was a good movie. And you can see, while watching it, it didn't cut corners on anything like The Flash. It doesn't look like crap. It actually looks very good compared to most superhero movies. And it got a generally positive reception. Yeah, it didn't do crazy numbers like an Avengers film, but it has that respectability as well. And movie studios, you can see right now, they don't care about making great movies. They don't care about movie history. They just see movies as a product. A lot of these people, they don't care about any of this stuff. And that's why the film industry has someone, you know, the head of Warner Brothers, David Zaslav, and he just doesn't like movies anymore. He just doesn't like anything like that. TV shows, he's, like, deleted from existence. They literally never streamed that Batgirl movie, which was finished, so they could get a big tax write-off, because if they showed it on streaming, they'd have to pay everyone more who was involved in that movie. This whole franchise model, just seeing all these entertainment things as content, basically vindicates what George Lucas was saying, like, must be like 8 years ago now, right? He said, I was restricted by capitalism in making my movies. That's why I sold Star Wars, so I could just do what I wanted when I was older. And he said, when he was growing up in the movie industry, people often said, well, aren't you glad you work in America and not the Soviet Union? And he replied, this has gone viral on Twitter a couple times, well, in the Soviet Union, their restrictions were criticizing the government. But in terms of what they can actually make in terms of the film, they could be very experimental, which they were.
One of the reasons I retired is so I could make movies that aren't popular. Because in the world we live in the system we've created for ourselves in terms of it's a big industry, you cannot lose money. You're forced to make a particular kind of movie. And I used to say this all the time when people, back when Russia was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. And they'd say, oh, but aren't you so glad that you're in America? I said, well, I know a lot of Russian filmmakers. They have a lot more freedom than I have. All they have to do is be careful about criticizing the government. Otherwise, they can do anything they want.
And so what do you have to do?
You have to adhere to a very narrow line of commercialism.
It's about his own film, Star Wars. He said he made Star Wars. Everyone tried to make space movies. And they were all terrible. They were all like clones of Star Wars because they didn't realize what made Star Wars good. They just thought it was the space battles that made Star Wars good. The space battles is what people like. Make me a space movie. But people didn't just like the space battles. That was a bonus. People loved the characters. People liked, good story, good world building, like great performances from like Harrison Ford or Alec Guinness. People liked it for those reasons. But they took all the wrong messages from that. The same with Westerns back in the day as well. Westerns nearly destroyed Hollywood because they just keep pumping out crappy Westerns because they saw a couple were successful. And because of capitalism, in terms of art, no matter what industry, this always happens. Remember back in the day, after Call of Duty Modern Warfare, every video game wanted to be Call of Duty. Every game had multiplayer. BioShock 2 had competitive multiplayer, which I will admit I actually liked, but unnecessary. Didn't need it, but it wanted to be the next Call of Duty. Everyone wanted to be Call of Duty. And it feels like with the MCU, everyone just wants to be Marvel now. And that's been going on for a long, long time. And just like with Star Wars back in the day, what people are going to see with Barbie is take the complete wrong message. The toy companies are all going to say, how do we make a toy movie? People like toy movies. But people don't like toy movies inherently. They like good movies that can be based on toys. But again, these people just see dollar signs and they're happy to milk something till it's dry, then discard it. And, I'm so happy right now everyone is striking in the film industry because it isn't necessarily to do with this stuff, which has been going on for decades and decades at this point. But what it is just like an attack on this art from the capitalist class, which although people often saying, this is so stupid, they're so privileged, these rich actors, they're doing it because, they're doing it for job reasons. But most people who work in the industry make under 26k a year. And a lot of these people fundamentally care about the art of filmmaking, where the people in charge of these studios, they don't care. And that David Zaslav is one of the worst. Like even something like Westworld, I was thinking about, they took that off streaming, Westworld. And although the series deteriorated in quality, the first 2 seasons were absolutely massive for HBO, right? And it's just gone. Batgirl, no one will ever see that because they want a tax write-off, right? These people don't care. So I'm happy there's a pushback, but it's also sad they're still not learning the lessons of either the DCEU or also, the Dark Pictures universe or whatever the fuck it was called. They don't realize that you can't just plan franchises and expect people to watch them, because I predict this is going to happen. Polly Pocket might do okay, maybe, but I don't think it will even make a profit, right? And then the other movies, they won't do very well unless they specifically target a very young audience with something like Hot Wheels, which apparently is going to be gritty and amazing. And then they'll try and make a Barbie 2. And Barbie 2 will probably be worse than Barbie 1. And then that's it. No more Mattel Cinematic Universe. No more Barbie Cinematic Universe. It'll just be dead. What they could do is think about, how do we make another movie like Barbie, which is good? They could do that instead. But no, they have 10 ideas, 80% sound like absolute. Within 10 years, people just think about, oh yeah, that Barbie movie was good, wasn't it? Everything else, I don't even know what happened afterwards. The same with the Mummy movie, right? Who talks about the Mummy movie anymore? Who's clamoring for Dark Pictures? No one. Who wants a Polly Pocket movie, a Hot Wheels movie? Who wants this? Anyway, that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.